Hello friends, welcome. My name is Marina. I'm the person behind Everything Marina food blog. Right here we bake macarons and other desserts. In this video, we're going to be making chai filling for macarons. For macaron shells, I'm going to have separate video, but in this video we're making just filling for macarons. The flavor is chai. And I have to say, this is not buttercream, it's not ganache. We're going to be making ladurée based ganache filling for macarons. If you know, I have already a few videos for ladurée ganache or filling, however you want to call. The recipes from ladurée book. I make it very simple, and I think everybody can make this filling for macarons. And let's talk about ingredients. We need white chocolate. I like this recipe because it doesn't need much chocolate. It's only 100 grams. I'm using white chocolate, Calibor, 32%. You can use 28% also Calibor, or you can use your favorite brand. I have to tell you even more. If you don't want to use white chocolate, you can use milk or dark chocolate. The amount will be the same. Just make sure you're using good quality chocolate. So we need chocolate, and I placed in plastic container. We need heavy cream. The total amount of this heavy cream is 200 grams. And in a recipe, in a ladurée book, it's measured separately, 160 grams and then 40 grams. I like to make everything simple, so I measure 200 grams, not milliliters. I use kitchen scale, and I measure my heavy cream in grams. White granulated sugar, we need 100 grams. We need cornstarch, 15 grams. Make sure you're using cornstarch and not potato starch, all right? Then we need unsalted butter, and it's 113 grams. It's just one stick if you live in United States. Easy to measure. If you're buying like big chunks of butter, make sure you cut the correct amount. I think 110, 115 grams of butter, that's what we need. And the flavor, it's chai. I just bought this tea in a local store, so I thought why not to use this. This is this brand. If you live in the United States, that's what I'm gonna be using. And the flavor I see on a package is ginger, cardamom, cinnamon. So basically all the fall flavors what we need. And for this recipe, we just need one bag of this tea. You can open it up like I did already, and I just placed in a small bowl. Smells so delicious. All right, we can do a few things with the flavor. We can infuse heavy cream. Basically, you warm up the heavy cream and then you place this package of the tea and let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. Or you can just rip this package and place in a little bowl or container. And when we start making this filling, then we're gonna be adding all this spices from the package. It's all up to you. With the package, obviously you're gonna just take it out from heavy cream and you're done. You will have only flavor in a heavy cream. But what I like to use those spices, and I want to fill them when I'm gonna be eating this macarons. So I like to add all the spices without package, obviously, into heavy cream. And I want to have this flavor and color, everything from those spices. So it's up to you. Like I said, just we need one package for this recipe. Tools. Important. When I made it very simple, this recipe, and I tried to use not that many tools that what it says in a book, making very simple this filling. And if you make once or twice this filling, then you will already know kind of all ingredients and what you can replace and make a different flavor. I have dark chocolate using white chocolate. Easy to change a little bit some ingredients and make a new flavor. If you want to know more about this recipe, just leave me a comment and I'll explain to you more. In my video where I'm making just basic ladurée ganache, I'm explaining all those details also. Let's talk about tools. What do we need? We need saucepan, we need whisk and spatula. I'm using little spatula and my favorite whisk, it's a sauce whisk. Specifically for this filling, for this ganache, I'm using this whisk and I'll tell you later why. Then we need a little bowl or measuring cup, just something separate that we're gonna be mixing heavy cream and cornstarch. The next very important tool, we need immersion blender, and in a ladurée book, I think he used a food processor, but I don't have personally food processor. In my kitchen, immersion blender works very well. Like I said, I made it simple, immersion blender, that's what you need. We also need a little oven. You can use home oven, just basically we need medium heat. And the last, not least, I use pastry bag. That's where we're going to be transferring this filling. You can also use any flat container or little ball, anything you like. I personally like to transfer right away into pastry bag and stabilize, cool it off like this, flat in the fridge. And then when I'm ready to fill my macarons, I just grab the bag, cut a little tip, and it's ready to go. I don't like to clean a lot of balls and tools, so right away into pastry bag and we'll be done. Let's make this chai filling for macarons. A few ingredients that we don't need right now. We don't need chocolate and we don't need butter right away, so I'm putting this on the side. We need saucepan, and this is 200 grams of heavy cream. In a ladurée book, it says 160 and then measure separately 40 grams. I like to measure 200 total. I like to make it everything simple. So I have total 200 grams of heavy cream. In a saucepan, I'm gonna add about 140 grams, and in a separate bowl or cup, you add the rest. So basically we need like 150, 160 grams in the saucepan, and the rest, it doesn't matter, 40, 50 grams in a separate measuring cup. This way it's very simple because sometimes you can't even measure 40 grams. It's very difficult for some bakers, or maybe your scale is not accurate. So it's easy to measure 200, 160, just eyeball, and the rest into separate bowl. That's it. Very simple. 200 grams divide in between saucepan and the other mixing bowl. Make sure you use every drop because a few drops can affect your filling. And I don't like to use the ganache for this recipe, or maybe I should. Anytime I'm using chocolate, I consider it's ganache, but it's more filling that based on a pastry cream. So however you like to call, let's just call it chai filling for macarons. Easy and done. All right, now sugar. We're adding all sugar into saucepan with a larger amount of heavy cream, and we're adding those spices. It's gonna give me flavor and the color. Now, cornstarch. I'm adding all this cornstarch with the bowl with the smaller amount of heavy cream. Just explaining you the whole process, because when we start making, I like to have everything prepared and I would like for you to watch. So that's all our ingredients. All right, saucepan, heavy cream, sugar, spices, and another mixing bowl with a little bit of heavy cream and cornstarch. Right now, saucepan, I'm placing over medium heat, And we need to warm it up. We're not boiling this heavy cream. We're making sure that all sugar dissolved. That's our goal. After that, when we see all the sugar melted in a heavy cream in a saucepan, we're gonna slowly add into this mixing bowl. What we're doing, we're tempering this cornstarch and heavy cream mixture. Right now I can use the whisk and just mix and let it sit for a while until we're done with the saucepan. And then we're going to return back this mixture into saucepan, and then we're going to cook, bring to boil. Sometimes people don't understand even how to make this pastry cream, so just explaining you like step by step. Maybe you're a beginner baker, maybe you're just doing this filling for the first time. I want you to understand. All right. Where's my medium heat? Medium heat. So, and right here you can use whisk or spatula, it doesn't really matter. Mixing and making sure that sugar all dissolved. And the heavy cream is warm. We're not boiling. Repeating one more time, we're not boiling, we're just bringing to boil, making sure everything is melted. Those spices, it's really good. I love it. You can even infuse with the package of that tea and the spices. You can use 2 packages. Maybe it's a little bit very strong, but if you like that very, very intense taste, if you like that more spices, you can use 2. So 1 package infused and 1 just used with the spices. But my personal one is enough for this amount. All right, it's bringing, the sugar is melting. And that's why I like to use this sauce whisk, because when I'm mixing, I like to touch the bottom of the saucepan, and it's making very fast the sugar dissolve. Smells so good. All right, just want to make sure I'm not boiling this heavy cream. And the color changed already from the spices. It's getting more gray, kind of brown. And don't use high heat. Use low, medium. It takes time, but I want you to understand the whole process. Like I said, if you make once, twice this recipe, this filling, you will understand, and you can make so many different flavors, and I'm sure you're gonna like this filling because it only requires 100 grams of chocolate. There is a lot of filling that's enough to fill many macarons. I think in the book it says 100 macarons, but it all depends how much you're putting on the shell. Obviously, Ladurée doesn't put too much. All right, my sugar all dissolved, and it started bringing to boil, but I'm not boiling. Actually, gonna turn off my heat. We're adding this mixture into heavy cream with cornstarch, and I'm mixing with this whisk. We're tempering this cornstarch mixture. It smells so good. There you go. And right now I'm switching to spatula. I'm mixing with the spatula. See? And now I'm pouring back into saucepan. Again, using spatula, grabbing everything. Okay. And I'm gonna start my oven over medium heat. I'm gonna be using whisk, and I'm gonna be all the time mixing this mixture. We're making pastry cream. And I want you guys to see better. I'm changing angle of my camera. All right, I'm using whisk. And the whole process to bring it to boil, it doesn't take too long. Obviously, the cream was warm. Make sure you're using whisk. I like to use sauce whisk, specifically for this filling when I'm making. Smells so good. I'm not sure even if I would just infuse with a bag of tea and then remove that bag, if that will give us that much flavor, as just rip it off this package and pour all these spices into heavy cream. And you see this filling already start boiling. When it's boiled, we need to boil for about 30 seconds, and I'm still using whisk. We need to make sure it's boiling not just on the sides of the saucepan, but also on the middle. You see the texture. We need to cook that cornstarch. And you see how shiny it is? And this is your pastry cream. There you go. It's really hard to overcook, and you'll see if it starts burning too much the bottom of the saucepan, turn it off. Usually 30 seconds after start boiling, it's enough. And use whisk, make sure there is no clumps left. And you see the texture of this, you see the color. It's very shiny. Don't forget, we didn't use any glucose syrup. This is what we have. What are we doing next? We remove this pastry cream from the heat. I'm usually placing on a cutting board. I let it cool a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm gonna semi-melt my chocolate in the microwave, 10-15 seconds interval. You don't need to use double boiler method. If you don't wanna use microwave, you can just leave it chocolate without melting for 10-15 seconds. I like to melt a little bit chocolate because I like, right now, don't forget, your chocolate is very cold. And when you're gonna be adding this pastry cream, you just shocking your chocolate. And I don't want my filling to separate. I want to have this perfect texture, and I want to keep this shyness. So what I like to do, I like to use microwave and just semi-melt this white chocolate 10-15 seconds, few times, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, next step, we're adding white chocolate into this pastry cream. I semi-melted a little bit in the microwave, 10-15 seconds interval. And right here you can use spatula if you like, or if you can use still. Okay. And when you add a chocolate, right away mix, because this pastry cream, it's still warm. It should be like about 80 degrees or something. And we want this chocolate to melt. Like I said before, it doesn't matter if you melt it or not in a microwave. Because pastry cream is warm, it will melt chocolate. Even the saucepan is still hot. What are we doing next? I'm using spatula, mixing sides of this saucepan. That's what I have, if you're curious. And I'm usually bringing back into plastic cup, because we need to cool it off. And right now you probably will think, oh my, what is she doing? That doesn't look good at all. But trust me, we're not done yet. That's what I have. Just like this, I'm gonna let it cool at room temperature for about 10-15 minutes. After that, we're gonna be adding butter slowly. We need to cut butter into small pieces, and we're going to be emulsifying with immersion blender. But right now it's very still hot. Don't forget chocolate melting. The pastry cream was warm, and we can't add butter because it will melt. We need this mixture bring to room temperature to about 40-45 degrees. And the butter is I just took from refrigerator 10-15 minutes ago, so it's going to be not too cold and not too soft. All right, let's finish making this chai filling based on laduri ganache. This mixture was at room temperature and it's a little bit still warm, but now it's time to add some butter. And butter is at room temperature also. What important, we need to cut butter to smaller pieces, and we're going to be adding just a few pieces at a time and emulsifying with the blender. We're not dumping this butter at once. The laduri using food processor, if you have, you can try and let me know how it works, but I like to use immersion blender. I think it's faster. All right, a few pieces at the time, emulsifying, not for too long. And at the same time, we have prepared pastry bag. I placed it in a pitcher. And when we're done, we're going to be transferring into pastry bag. All right. Just slowly. And if you see this filling starts separating, just place in a fridge and then start adding more butter. Okay. Don't worry, that's what we have. It's nothing wrong with this. That's how it's supposed to be. Continue adding butter. And sometimes I'm just using like this mixture blender. See, it starts coming together already. That's why it's very important when you're making this filling time. So make sure you're giving enough time to cool it off, and then adding butter. Butter also should be not soft, and very cold butter will also not work. All right. See what we have? All this butter, small pieces. And all these spices, look at this. And just think about the ganache, when after stabilization, it will give more even flavor. that's what I have. It's already very stable, but we need to stabilize. And if you're not ready to use it today, it's perfectly fine to leave in the fridge overnight or even for a couple of days, and then fill macarons or other, and fill macarons after. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure there is nothing on the bottom and on the sides of this cup. I like to do it in a cup. Don't do it in a mixing bowl, because for emulsion we need some tall container or cup. And you see it's very shiny. Perfect filling. Now I'm using spatula, just cleaning blender. I'm using spatula one more time and making sure everything combined. See, that's what we have. This is laduri based ganache that I made it very simple technique, and I think everybody can use this and make this ganache, this filling. You can flavor to any flavor you like. And you can make you can use different chocolate if you like. Right now I'm transferring this filling into a pastry bag. And like I said before, you can use container or bowl. Make sure it's flat one. And then cover with the plastic wrap to contact, like we would usually do with the ganache. And we need to refrigerate to stabilize. Depends on your... I usually place in the fridge overnight, and I'm using next day. See? Now I'm placing flat on the countertop. See, ganache is not runny, and I like to use pastry bag because then I don't need to deal with the plastic wrap and cleaning more containers. Just like this, I'm gonna place on a baking tray and I'm gonna refrigerate usually 8 to 12 hours overnight. And tomorrow, when I'm done baking my macaron shells, we're gonna be filling macarons. I hope you like this chai filling for macarons, and I would love to hear what you think. Have you ever tried laduri based filling, that laduri based ganache? Have you done something like this? I like this filling for a few reasons. It requires only 100 grams of chocolate. Chocolate can be replaced with different, not white, but with milk, dark, or even mixture of dark and milk, whatever you like. You can use white and caramelized chocolate. That even gives you more flavor. Plus, it's very stable filling. When you fill macarons, it's not buttercream, it's not that sweet, and it's not ganache where a lot of chocolate. Plus, it's very affordable. It requires less chocolate. Prices went up for chocolate lately, so it's very affordable. And I like how macaron shells, after filling with this filling, they're not soggy. Like sometimes when you fill with ganache, the macaron shells after a couple days, they become very soggy and you have to eat or freeze them. But with this filling, macaron shells, like they still have that crispness. I really like it, and I really like for like summer. It's very stable, it holds shape, and macarons will not be damaged or runny if you fill them with the ganache or buttercream. It's perfect for the dessert table, and I love, like I said before, I found that recipe in a laduri book, but I made a little changes, simplified the whole process, and I make this all the time and I love it. Let me know what you think, and in the comments if you tried this filling before, if you made this laduri ganache before, and I would love to see your creations. Thank you for watching and happy baking!